finding openings, and in this game that's not necessarily the case. There's an Ancient Apparition and an IO as a support tool in the enemy, so there definitely are opportunities or openings for this Night Stalker in that first night.
What's anything cute that they could do with IO stacking for the Sand King? The Sand King is known for jungling, was known for jungling, at least a couple of patches ago, but a couple points Caustic, a couple points Burrow Strike, maybe even a little bit of Sandstorm mixed in there, and maybe they could hit a timing where Sand King just gets an incredibly fast Blink Dagger and then kind of out-tempos Kinguin. I could see that working out for sure, assuming Spartan has stacking on the mind. He's going to run into a Bat Rider and confirm pretty much what everyone already knew about these lanes, but Skylark is in a little bit more of an interesting position.
Yeah, the Disruptor actually walked here and then went back this way, so he got lucky enough not to be scouted.
Just don't move.
Burrow Strike in for the Bounty Rune, right? That's got to be the play. Be interesting to see if he snags it up, but I think yeah. Didn't actually. Looks like maybe he didn't have the screen on his hero.
The back half of his body is spilling out behind that tree, but what the hell do I know?
I think if the Dire walk by, they should catch a glimpse. But he's going to make an attempt here, more than likely, so this is where we get the action early on. I think he'll probably forego Caustic here, even though it's such a good spell against the Weaver. It doesn't feel like he'll be able to do much with it. Okay, so he's just going to look to cut the wave, potentially, and bring it down underneath his tower, get himself an early level 2. There's not much to punish him here. And good recognition on Skylark's part is that really skilling Glimpse level 1 for the Disruptor is not ideal. So for him to be able to drag this back would be a huge win for Skylark.
Night Stalker did rotate.
He did skill the Glimpse. And now with the Night Stalker, and they do have kill potential on Skylark. Figured he'd be around towards the mid lane, but this Sand King, he was going to drop. And Burrow Strike will not save him. He'll drop halfway into the ground for Skylark. With a valiant attempt, but will be thwarted for the time being.
I guess maybe you can say, hey, the Disruptor has Glimpse level 1 now, and that's kind of a win, maybe. But the damage has kind of already been done. Like, it's very rare that you see Glimpse level 1 do anything, let alone in a level 1 scenario. But killing off Skylark is going to be a pretty big deal. Like, he's, along with Thug, the two most important heroes right now for the mousesports side. They need to be getting their levels, they need to be getting experience, and certainly dying and making the lane that's not super easy even worse is not really how you're going to look to accomplish that. It is going to be Madar going up against Patos 1v1 though. Full stick for the Lifestealer with Rage available. Probably going to be a pretty lazy lane down there for both sides, but MNT with Skylark up towards top lane is a pretty potent combo if they weren't facing up against a Weaver, and MNT has to fight up against Night Stalker as well. Not fun.
Still daytime, so he'll be all right. But yeah, this will get more and more dicey for the Ancient Apparition as we go on. But you know, as we alluded to in the draft, they do have the luxury of leaving the Lifestealer 1v1 bottom. That is going to mean, however, that Patos is going to have good levels on his Bat Rider. The farm war will probably go the way of the Radiant in that bottom lane, but always nice to have your levels on your Bat Rider. Nisha, mid lane, they're going to jump throw. Yeah, get the tether slow, and the body blocks are beautiful from Spartan and Thug. A couple more right clicks with the Shadow Strike, the Fairy Fire. It's there in time. Thug, though, he wants to turn on to Katsor. A couple more right clicks. Spartan in a little bit of trouble here. The Shadow Strike is there, but the rotation in from Patos gets down the sticky Napalm. And looks like Katsor may be able to just... No, the last right click will finish him off. Thug does not have a blink, but Bat Rider not willing to chase forward as Spartan going to rejoin the fray here. The TP out from the Bat Rider will keep him safe for now. But it ends up being a one-for-one trade in the mid lane. Night Stalker for the Wisp. The IO, I should say. But maybe more importantly for Kinguin as they keep their Viper alive.
You don't really see the 3 Bat Rider rotations all that often.
Glimpse onto Skylark. Yeah, Thunderstrike is there as well. They actually missed the Swarm, unfortunately. Threw it out and got glimpsed over top of it. So that would have been a little bit of extra damage for Exotic Deer there, but unfortunate just bit of timing for Kinguin and Skylark make it back onto the safety tower.
He may be under his tower, but regeneration-wise, he is hurting right now. Courier still isn't flying, the Shrines still aren't active, and this lane right now for mousesports is dead. They got to walk all the way back. And that's just, again, more downtime where the Sand King isn't getting that experience. For right now, though, Sand King actually has more CS than the Weaver, which honestly shouldn't really be happening. Yeah, the threat of Burrow Strike, Cold Feet, Chilling Touch, that is definitely substantial, but Weaver is usually not going to die straight up to that. He has Tango, he has Healing Salve still, but seems to be working out pretty well in that top lane. But yeah, this is bad. Patos did probably see this last time he roamed out towards the mid lane. Is going to be caught by 2 supports, but it's only a double stack, so it's not the end of the world for Mouse, but you definitely don't want to be feeding the enemy Bat Rider extra gold like that.
Yeah, it's a good recognition on Platos' part, and we'll take that away from either Thug or Skylark moving forward. But as you mentioned, Skylark doing very well in the top lane thus far, CS-wise, and you got to just attribute this to many attempts on his life from the the trio of the Disruptor, Night Stalker, and the Weaver. So probably just missing CS as Exotic Tier getting aggressive for these kills. But in the meantime, Madara completely free farming bottom lane. We talked about his versatility as a safe laner. He's been able to pull the lane, get some extra creeps. And yeah, Skylark, he's going to be swarmed up. Has the burrow, but Exotic Deer in 2 seconds if he needs it. Has another Shikuchi. The IO in though, and they will think better of it. I think this is a wise play from Kinguin to back out. Skylark in just a moment had another burrow strike. And he will live to fight another day, as they feel like they've done well enough for Thug in the mid lane. I mean, he's still struggling against what is a tough matchup in the Viper, but top lane, they go in for the burrow. El Lasash will be the first one to far. Spartan trying to TP out will not be successful. Skylark, 3 seconds until another burrow, continuing to chase forward on the Night Stalker. MNT gets off the Cold Feet, and this should proc with the stun. So they'll trade another couple of kills as the 2 cores, the last one standing in this top lane.
Skylark surviving is such a huge deal there for the mousesports side. Of course, it is extremely nice for Exotic Deer to engage there and survive. A Weaver with farm is not to be underestimated, especially if he's able to, I guess, respond to an Orchid pick with like Lincoln Sphere. Would also be nice against the Sand King. Something along those lines for Exotic Deer, or just general damage items, Desolator, Dragonlance type build for him. Also should be the earlier build up. But getting into, again, a little bit of a scuffle. Don't really blame Kinguin for doing that. It was a level 2 Night Stalker with double damage. You're not going to avoid fights at that stage, but they do have to be careful. Mid.
Yeah, Alisage on a warding mission, and he's going to get spotted out by MNT. Io almost brought down to the Ancient Prowlers. And now Thug in a bit of a precarious position. 2 seconds until a blink. He should be able to make it away as long as he doesn't get stopped here. And yeah, Katsuor not able to get there in time, even with an Arcane Rune, but just short of the Void range. So Thug makes it out, and they have a Shrine as well for the Radiant squad. So I got to agree with you, top lane. It is really beneficial for Skylark to be, surviving that skirmish, and nice for the Weaver to have too, but you expect the Weaver to have that farm coming out of the safe lane. Skylark had a much more difficult task to fill here in the early game. Him having a nice start will really help facilitate relocate ganks, infest bombs, and things of that nature going into the mid game. Spartan's nearby, but he's low himself. Don't know if he wants to tether in, may just end up killing himself off, and yeah, he'll think better of it. Skylark will get glimpsed back, and as we speak nicely of him, I suppose, he does end up going down here. So Kinguin's movement's been pretty good thus far, but you got to say mousesports have done a decent job of stymieing the bleeding. I mean, this first night time is soon to end, and the score only 5-4 in the favor of King.
For sure, it could have been 5-5. I think Nisha may have underestimated or overestimated the Queen of Pain's experience gain. Spartan, that should be a pretty easy kill, maybe.
Yeah, there's a way.
Tracking with Thunderstrike.
No glimpse available for 25 seconds, but yeah, Thunderstrike does kill him off. Meanwhile, Skylark chasing. Looking to find a Night Stalker. He's fast, but not for long. Duke's down to the south, and now MNT looking to pincer him in. Gets the Icy Vortex off. Still, the Night Stalker is quick, but now the Tether move speed coming through for Skylark. Nice kinetic field, though, from the north. And El Lasash will keep them at bay for the time being. The Viper, though, made his way out of mid lane, so Thugs finds a little bit of space here on his Queen of Pain.
Fly, my pretty, fly.
I was going to say earlier, I think Nisha didn't quite know what blink level Thug was, didn't check perhaps, and held the Viper Strike for a very long time. But they're going to find Thug again, who just blinked.
No lasso, but they, yeah, as you mentioned, blink on cooldown. Easy kill for that duo of heroes.
It was a haste on Bat Rider anyway. I think even with the blink, should have still been the death of the Quap. So there we go. Kinguin getting a little bit more blood, and Bat Rider roaming out of this lane quite frequently. is hard for Madara to actually keep track of. They tried to go for the Lifestealer a little bit earlier, had the Infests, and they couldn't quite kill him off in time with just 2 heroes, but still, when Batrider spends this little time in lane, it's so hard to tell when he's jungling and dealing with his own farm and when he's actually roaming around looking for kills. Madara's still getting a lot of farm out of this bottom lane. I thought it would be a little bit tighter of a competition there, but man, this guy's loaded. Armlet is right around the corner, and once that comes up, then you are actually able to, as a team, look for some movements from the mouseboard side. But even when Armlet does come up, Madara's farming untouched on this bottom lane. We mentioned how, he's probably going to be getting farm in this scenario, but free farm like this up against 0 opponents most of the time, that's probably beyond even what he expected.
Yeah, as you touched upon earlier, the Batrider's been moving around a lot, and he has facilitated some kills for his squad. He's 1-0-1, so I've been involved in a couple of them, namely that one towards the mid lane, where he joined up to kill off the IO. But I think this is something that Kinguin are okay with, the free farm on the Lifestealer, and reason I say that is they have a core who's going to have a lot of farm who builds into a Hurricane Pike in the Viper. So just being able to kite around him with the Shikuchi and the potentially Hurricane Pike to come out pretty soon for the Viper, who's already got the Dragonlance skilled up, maybe in that sense they can mitigate what Madara is able to do in towards this mid game. But there definitely will be a window where he has that armlet up and that Hurricane Pike is 5 minutes or so away where they can make some certain plays. Bottom lane, invisibility rune.
Farm is coming up as well. It's like Lincoln Sphere first will in fact be the selection, and this is even before he sees any sort of build up from that Quap, so just wants to make sure that Sand King is dealt with and answered. And again, there's not many stuns on the mouseboard side. There are no stuns really once the Lincoln Sphere comes up, so it's going to be over in mid actually, where Madara's going to teleport in with his armlet.
They have the Infest Bomb queued up. They're going to jump forward towards the Viper. They can burst him quickly. Support inbound, but not hastily enough. And Dara instantly, with the pickup of the armlet, finds himself a first kill on the most valuable dire target on the map. A nice movement from Mouse, and being daytime, Dara really doesn't feel all that threatened right now. Make his way back down towards bottom.
That timing was so narrowly in favor of Mouse because of Invisible Batrider, Night Stalker. They were looking for, well, pretty much the exact same play, Kinguin, except going the other way, and it was mousesports who got there with the right heroes at the right time. And Festbomb on the Quap is not all that bad 11 minutes in. Now, it's not really something you want to plan for, simply because Queen of Pain early on, unlike someone like a Storm Spirit, commits fully, and you have to get the kill. If you don't, you'll probably just die with everyone else, because of that blink cooldown still being so long. But still being able to burst down a Viper, as tanky as he is no small feat there from the mousesport side. So they're getting Madara some kills, and maybe even more. Not quite enough for Katsura. Oh, it is enough. Okay, level 11 Lifestealer does some damage.
Yeah, level 4 in the Rage gets a little bit of extra attack speed there, and the armlet pickup that you mentioned, Madara absolutely snowballing at this point. Jumping in mid lane, they get to relocate off, and Nisha may go down for the second time here, just as the Rage cooldown comes off. They go right back in. Exotic Deer, he's going to look to try and turn this, get a kill on Thug. They have a glimpse, but 1 second for the blink. Oh, they'll get the lasso off, perfectly timed from the Kinguin side. Madara still fighting strong, as he's nowhere near killable just yet, without a Static Storm or a lasso for this squad. And they do just pick up the Static Storm now off the back of those kills for El Lissash. But not enough damage behind it with the Viper down to expend it for this Madara kill here. So when all is said and done, it'll end up being a 1-for-1. Viper goes down first though, so Thug the beneficiary of the experience.
MNT's one creep away from that level 6 mark. That'll make the Lifestealer's plays all the more easy with that Queen of Pain. Even without that Queen of Pain, you can set up some pretty easy actions. Skylark though is in trouble.
Yeah, he's going to get dusted up, and arguably a bit of overkill, but they secure it. I don't think he was making it away without the Static Storm either way, but it is a low cooldown and well worth, getting the Disruptor a little bit more experience. He's going to be near that level 7 mark now, excuse me. Now MNT, just before picking up level 6, is in a lot of trouble as Exotic Deer approaches him. He'll be able to time-lapse with ease and make it back to the welcoming arms of his Catsor Night Stalker. But rotating in is Thug alongside his IO. Here it's nearby. Won't connect that. They know there's no time lapse here. Do they have the detection for exotic gear? Looks like they're lacking it on this duo of heroes, and unfortunately that rotation not going to bear fruit. But MNT, free trip back to the well, and right into mid lane he'll go. He now has the Ice Blast available.
He was just short of leveling up to that level 6 mark, and if he was able to scrape that together in the bottom lane, survive for just a couple more seconds, maybe they could have made something happen.
Speaking of surviving, gets the Ice Blast off. Is there a follow-up now from Thug? No vision on the high ground in that area for the Radiant, so it doesn't feel like blinking up is the right play, but he'll get lassoed for staying in the mid lane. The relocate coming through with Madara. Thug actually gets the blink off to the east, and with no static storm, they can't lock him in place. He gets connected on with a flame break, but it's not going to be enough damage at this point in the game to kill him off. Skylark in a little bit of trouble under the sandstorm. Is going to be, well, he's going to make it away to the south. Madara, after the infest, has the armlet available, will toggle it up, and with the rage is free to do so. But now the Night Stalker coming through gets the open wounds off, but it's not enough to keep him safe. 4 Kinguin heroes in this mid lane. The only one who's not is dead. Thug, though, he's going to return to the fray, get a kill off on Patos, excuse me. Madara goes down on the south side. Now it's Thug looking for another one, but this Night Stalker moving very quickly while Nisha finishes off the IO in the mid lane. And Kinguin take a favorable engagement in this mid lane here, killing off 4 Radiant heroes, only losing the Disruptor and the Batrider.
For Kinguin, they kind of got an unfortunate break there on the Queen of Pain to start things off, but then kind of got a little bit lucky as the IO did relocate in to start that fight. He ended up yanking out the Queen of Pain all the way pretty much on this river ward on the south side. That's where they ended up. That's why they disappeared for like a good 5 seconds while Kinguin were running rampant on Madara. So I'm not really sure how intentional that was for Spartan, but certainly pulling out a hero like Quap is valuable if she's near dead, but she wasn't quite there. How did that Ice Blast not land?
The stairs are always deceptive in Dota, but it definitely looked like it visually. But he was just at this point, so I suppose being on the, somewhat low ground, he's going to survive here. And unfortunately for that, Thug commits because of it, thinking that the Ice Blast lands, and is going to pay with her life. So
now Spartan is here.
Here, there, everywhere. He's dead. Either way, I mean, Mouse kind of bleeding heroes at this point, but Madara still keeping up in farm. Skylark 100 gold away from his Blink Dagger, so perhaps they can start to claw their way back into this one with that Sand King initiation tool. Still though, 17-9, 16 minutes in, 2k net worth lead, experience, nearing the 3k mark, but starting to threaten buildings is this Kinguin squad.
No Blightstone on the Weaver, but still this lack of answers on the mousesports side means that Exotic Deer is able to play very confidently. Kinguin at this point should expect the Sand King to have that Blink Dagger, so it is going to just be Goonish Chase on who, and
right
this is not how you want to reveal it.
Blink backwards. He's going to try and juke them out with the Sandstorm, though uses the Burrow Strike, needs support, and soon. And he will get it in the form of the IO. Thug is there as well as Madara, but they, again, don't have any lockdown for this Weaver, something you alluded to late in the draft. And Exotic Deer will be able to make it away, able to straddle the tree line as well as Patos on that Batrider, so no fruit found, but they will at least save their Skylark Sand King for the time being. That is going to mean, though, that the Blink Dagger's revealed. Thug probably going to get glimpsed back here into, just outside of the Static Storm as it expires, and he will be able to make it back to safety. Epicenter queued up. Skylark going to whiff almost entirely on it and gets voided up. Crippling Fear is there as well. The Blink Lasso is going to find Spartan in the meantime. Couple of right clicks from the Weaver. Not enough to kill him off yet. Negative Earn Tick is going to be there. He will relocate back out. Now Madara looking to go in on the Night Stalker. They have the Burrow Strike. They'll get the first kill of the engagement. And somehow all of the Mouse heroes proving to be elusive enough not to drop there. Now Ice Blast going to fly through mid lane. Connects on Elisashi. Will not die from it. It's going to be a bit annoying. Force him to walk back to the well.
Double damage.
Double damage picked up by the Exotic Deer Weaver.
Not exactly what mousesports were looking for there. When you charge up an Epicenter on the high ground, after knowing that the Weaver is there, like, obviously your target is going to be that Weaver. You need that burst damage to land. It needs to be fast, and it just was a little bit off. Second Burrow Strike that Skylar kind of whiffed so far in this game, and now the Blink Dagger surprise is definitely shown at this point to Kinguin. But still, they're able to get these pickoffs, maybe not on the Weaver, but certainly on some other heroes just to keep themselves afloat in this game. For sure, Madara getting paid off huge in that regard. Now has a Desolator on top of the Armlet. And Thug, his Orchid is not too far away either. So the items that Mouse absolutely need are coming up soon. But again, they're going to run into a Weaver. They're going to run into this Viper eventually. And haven't really interacted with this Viper as far as trying to kill him off in quite a long time. Now he has a full Hurricane Pike, this Viper. So when you're a Lifestealer, you don't want to deal with Force Staves.
Yeah,
and
Force
that's
Staves
going to be one of it. I would assume 2 at least. Like, there's one being built on the Bat Rider as well.
Yep.
Maybe even more, or Glimmer Capes or some items along those lines from the supports of Kinguin. Not easy for Madara to keep onto his targets.
Yeah, Mouse needs to find some opportune moments where Kinguin are not together as a squad. But, you know, with a Viper, in general, the team should tend to group up. So it's going to be hard for them to find openings. If they are able to, as you mentioned, Madara does a truck ton of damage at this point. Mid lane, Thug just barely gets the glimpse back as they keep it in the blink wielding Bat Rider, but he's unable to get a pick here. Some dire vision though, briefly should have scouted out Spartan, and Thug making a rotation down to the south, and perhaps this means it opens up the opportunity for this tier 1 push in the top lane. So as we mentioned, Kinguin gonna kind of assemble as a unit of 5 here, feeling very strong at this point in the game, as they should. And it looks like mousesports will opt to go for the trade. They do have the Desolator Lifestealer, so they're gonna push a little bit quicker than their counterparts here, at least in terms of the tier 2, as Nether Toxin not really gonna kick in until it gets a little lower.
Racing a Desolator, though, it's not going to be the fastest push in the world for Kinguin. Fortifications are going to be there, but I think Madara, with Overcharge not even being maxed out, still can make this an even tower trade. And of course, when you're behind, and with an IO, you would love to make as many even trades as you can possibly get your hands on. Not quite going to be at the exact same time, but still 2 for 2. And now here's where the challenge lies for Skylark. He has level 2 Epicenter. How good is it? Will it actually land? Who will it land on? Well,
just short. The Sonic Wave flies through, and now, still though, pushing top lane, they're going to force back TPs. Elisage could be in trouble. One more right click from Madara is going to kill him off, but they need to get out, and they've killed off the Wisp. Does Madara have what it takes to get out? He will infest a friendly creep, and for now, be alive. They'll wait until the Radiant creep wave. They'll drag the aggro back on the Weaver as well. Madara forced to try and make it out of this one. No rage cooldown. Cannot attempt a rage TP, and even if he had, may have been dead to rights. So, I mean, they saved their high ground, but unable to cancel any TPs again with the Burrow Strike not connecting there for Skylark, and it's going to mean the death of their Lifestealer and IO combination. Jump forward mid lane. They're going to find the lasso on Thug. Do they have the follow-up from the Disruptor? Not quite yet. And Thug will TP out, but the 2 right clicks up the hill for Exotic Deer are there. Queen of Pain going to drop, and Kinguin, for the most part, controlling this mid game.
That was a, you know, maybe it looks a little bit questionable from the Disruptor to make that play without any support, but setting up for that kill on Spartan, he knew means that kill the IO, means that Lifestealer has no more escape, and then they kill the IO again. Super extra bonus there. So Elisage sacrifices himself, but totally worth it as they also lose no one on the top lane. Now another glimpse on top lane. Skylark is dead. Skylark has had such a rough game. He's missed so many opportunities and just getting constantly picked off. MNT will get a kill here, but will lose his own life as well, guaranteed. They tried for a Burrow Strike combo into Queen of Pain ult on the top lane, and they actually just completely whiffed that Burrow Strike to defend their tier 3. If they were able to kill off someone or at least prolong the fight on that top lane, then who knows, Madara could have actually done some serious damage here, taken the tier 3 for sure, maybe even looking at a little bit of range rax damage, but unfortunately the initiation off the mark.
Yeah, speaking of Madara, he's going to get aggressed on here top lane, and will rage TP out, so they won't be able to kill him off, but it's some time he has to spend Fortunately, back at base. Definitely don't sleep on, the high ground defense potential here. If we see an epicenter burrow strike land with the ice blast on top, then Kinguin could be in a lot of trouble. Not the tankiest lineup aside from their Viper with the corrosive skin. So definitely look for them to respect that high ground to get their next wave of items. They are gonna, before they look at high ground, but they are gonna look for a pickoff here. And with all the tier 2s down, any key pickoff can be a big opening for them. But there's a counter smoke on the Radiant side. Skylark with a present inside. Oh, Spartan, he's out of a position, but Tether's back at the perfect time. Now Skylark finds the burrow onto the Batrider. He'll kill him off instantly, and with the rage, he's able to walk out of the kinetic field. Nisha, though, is going to be able to Viper strike up the Sand King. Madara a little bit out of position now. Thug unable to follow him up, and as is the Spartan IO, who tries to relocate, save him. And it's just not enough support for the Lifestealer here. Ice Blast going to fly, not going to connect on anyone. Chilling effect goes through the Viper. And the Wisp going to be in trouble here now. Spartan tethering back. Invisibility does make it to MNT on the high ground to safety. The initiation looked good for Mouse there, but they just didn't have the follow-up to join with Madara, and he gets caught out on an island.
Yeah, the Ice Blast came out a little bit too late there. The IO, because he tethered out initially, didn't have it on cooldown to tether back in once the allies went in. So he tried his best to get that relocate in time, and it was pretty close, but just the cooldown of tether not working out for him. I'm not really sure where Thug was at the exact start of that, but he still has the Sonic Wave. For sure would have been able to clean up at least any hero he hit that on. Like, those two supports in the back end were like 1 HP, and if you do land a Sonic Wave, maybe you get Madara a little bit more space, a little bit more time to actually get some heroes off of him, but Thug a little bit late to the party as well. So Kinguin, perhaps not the most elegant initiation in the world, but still works out pretty darn well. Absorbing that Lifestealer gank, and that's pretty much the extent of what Mouse can do offensively pick-off wise. Once these 4 stabs are actually used to counter that, it's going to be a lot more difficult for Mouse to replicate that in the future, unless they do end up on top of a hero like Batrider, with Viper being a little bit too far, which is for sure a possibility. That's typically how those heroes are positioned. Batrider way in front, Viper following behind, and with the amount of burst damage that Madara has with physical, Batrider's just not tanky enough to withstand all that damage. He can very easily die within the duration of a burrow strike.
Not sure if Thug was split pushing in the bottom lane, or if it was originally for Spartan to get 90%-ish of this tier 3 down. Meanwhile, top lane, they are going to find Spartan out, and he will drop here. But we were talking about Thug kind of entering the fray lately, so raising the possibility that maybe he was split pushing here in the bottom lane. Madara, in a similar vein, going to shove this lane in, but and does have a rage TP, so he should feel pretty safe. Oh, in this bottom lane, unless he gets instantly Static Storm from the high ground in the nighttime. Darkness there, going to limit his vision. And Madara, perhaps overconfident with his rage TP available, is going to be punished. Now, surpassed on the net worth chart is that Lifestealer by both the Viper and the Weaver. And into the pit, Atos and Nisha will go looking for this Roshan. They can't really contest this without their Lifestealer. They can throw an Ice Blast, however, into the pit and see if that deters Kinguin from pressing forward.
Io was there to save the Lifestealer, and you can see he's here on this bottom lane and invis because of the Shadow Amulet, which you could use to kind of fake the opponents out. There's no detection here, obviously, so they probably think that he did that TP trick, get that frame perfect, and stayed in his base, but he actually had the relocate perfectly timed and then tethered to a creep. So
Rip.
I'm not really sure what happened there. That's probably why he's disconnecting and reconnecting now, because that shouldn't have happened. He should have been able to get that Lifestealer out of there. But unfortunately for Spartan, internet issues plaguing him, and unfortunately for Mouse, it's going to cost them not only that Lifestealer, but also that relocate, and probably this Roshan as well. 45 seconds is more than enough time for Kinguin to get here and start cleaning this up. So that series of events may or may not be caused by just internet problems. It feels bad to have all these issues just be out of your hands.
Yeah, Lemony Snicket could write about that one. I didn't know Madara had the Wisp behind him, so very unfortunate to see. And it explains his confidence in that scenario. So really unfortunate turn of events. I mean, you could argue that, they would have got a free IO kill out of it, but not nearly the same as the Lifestealer dropping they still can make a move on the pit with the lifestealer up. You know, Blinken with the Sand King infest. You have Thug to follow up, the Ice Blast there as well. So they fight very well around that pit area. But good recognition from Kinguin, you know, knowing that they're able to pick up this lifestealer kill that they can turn into the Roche pit.
Exotic Deer has the Shrine to teleport to with Desolator up on him. Should be a pretty easy double life. Do you even not give it to the Weaver? Yeah, looks like that's the play. Double life for the Viper, so good luck grinding through that health pool twice. And still the Weaver with the Lincoln Sphere is not that easy to bring down either. Yeah, we've got Disruptor. No Static Storm, though. So we can't really do much here.
Great movement from him, though. Instantly to the bottom lane as they kill off the Roche, knowing that, you know, Mouse are going to want to try and force them back for a little bit of this duration of the Madara respawn and of the Aegis. And they'll deal with the bottom lane here with Peytos on the bat, right? It does have that Force Staff you were mentioning earlier, looking to build into his BKB. So a couple of Force Staffs up against Madara certainly will prove to be effective on paper, at least. Lincoln Sphere up on the Viper as well. They're going to be difficult to initiate onto him with Burrow. We saw early in the game them burst him a couple of times with Infest Bombs.
They just have to try to catch him with no Force Staff, no support. And same thing for the Weaver. It's going to be far from dependable from the mousesports side, but it's kind of the playstyle that they're forced into right now, simply because they don't really have that many ways of wasting that Lincoln Sphere. Cold Feet, I guess, but they got to go right now because Kinguin off of that Aegis are going to go for a high ground push. There's a pipe floating around on the Night Stalker. Wow. All right, well, good luck.
Yeah, Desolator up on the Weaver too. Jump forward. Lasso is going to find the Wisp, and they do not connect on the Burrow Strike as the Lincoln Sphere is there for Nisha. Sonic Wave hits on 5, but Madara just has nothing for them, and the GG is going to be called in this game 1. It is a best-of-3 series, so Mouse will definitely have a chance to redeem themselves, maybe particularly Skylark, looking a bit uncomfortable in this first game. A little bit of misfortune. Maybe a slight bit of a drafting issue as well, but Mouse came out of the early game just fine on